Hi, good morning. Today I'm here to convince you to check out Single Drunk Female on Hulu, partly because it's a good and funny and thoughtful show, and partly because it's basically my life. First, let me read you a quick synopsis. Single Drunk Female follows a 28-year-old alcoholic, Samantha Fink, who, after an embarrassing public breakdown, is forced to move back home with her overbearing mother to sober up and avoid jail time. But when her childhood best friend reveals surprising news, Samantha realizes she can no longer qualify as a party girl. She's a walking disaster. Okay, so not exactly my life. I never had a public breakdown and I was not a party girl. But in January of 2020, when this show came out, I was a 28-year-old alcoholic named Samantha who had previously moved back home to sober up because I was a walking disaster. So, close enough. The show is a comedy that takes a look at what it's like to be a recovering alcoholic in your late 20s, something I can very much relate to and appreciate seeing on TV, because I don't know about you, but when I hear the words recovering alcoholic, my mind pictures somebody who's older, not really somebody who's in their 20s. And in an interview with the show's creator, Samantha Fink, the interviewer even says, "The idea of a sobriety story gave me the impression that there's been a stretch of time where this person has been struggling with alcohol and has now come to this point in their journey. So my mind immediately goes to somebody who is older." But that's not always the case. Anybody can have a drinking problem after drinking for any length of time. The show is based on Samantha Fink's experience of getting sober at 28 after starting to drink at 15, but it doesn't have to take a decade to become a problem. Personally, I started drinking in 2014 and I was in AA meetings later that same year. And it was hard for me because on one hand I knew I had a problem, but on the other I kind of just felt like, isn't this what you do in your 20s? Like, you get drunk, you get wasted, you do dumb shit, and it's so normalized. Drinking is everywhere in real life and in entertainment. So I think shows like this are important for people like me who are recovering alcoholics at a younger age, or for people in their 20s who might not realize that their drinking is a problem because everyone around them is doing it. Or just for anybody to see what it's like for someone to deal with this kind of thing and the process they have to go through and how they have to figure out how to navigate being sober when drinking is so prevalent. I appreciate that the show portrays how both a person's drinking and their journey to sobriety affects not just them, but everybody in their life, and that it does it in a comedic way that tells a story that needs to be told while also keeping the viewer entertained. The series starts with Sam's so-called public breakdown, which is actually her showing up to work so late for a meeting that she's completely missed it. And she's not only drunk, but literally carrying a water bottle of vodka right in front of her boss. He tries to tell her she's fired, but she refuses to leave.
This is happening now. I'm hanging out.
So he grabs a phone to call security, and she takes the phone and smacks him in the face, getting herself a reckless assault charge and being sent to rehab for 30 days in order to avoid jail time. She's picked up from rehab by her mother, Carol.
Hello, Smother.
Hello, beauty girl.
Who is surprisingly cheery considering Sam's month in rehab cost her $40,000. After moving back home, Sam heads out to meet her new probation officer, who orders her to attend an AA meeting every day for 90 days. At her first meeting, Sam meets Olivia, who ends up becoming her sponsor for the rest of the season, and James, who she apparently hooked up with last Thanksgiving but doesn't really remember.
Yikes, you don't remember. Oh, no.
Upon finding out that she's back in town, Sam's best friend Felicia invites her to their go-to bar, and Sam lasts all of 2 seconds after saying, "I can't," to having a drink, before she gives in and just says that she'll start over tomorrow.
They say the secret to sobriety is one day at a time, so I'll just start over tomorrow.
Too many drinks later, Sam notices that her ex-friend Britt, who is now engaged to her ex-boyfriend, is hanging out at that same bar, and after a confrontation outside, Sam gets into her mom's car to drive home despite Felicia and Britt both trying to stop her. And first she slowly backs into a dumpster, but then she drives forward into Britt's party bus and gets arrested for drunk driving. Olivia bails her out the next morning and drives her home, where Sam's mother is waiting for her, understandably upset that she just got out of rehab and immediately got arrested for drunk driving, totaling her car in the process. She tries to explain herself, but what I love is she totally just lies. She tells her mom that she was at the bar, but she was sober until Britt walked in a veil. But we, the viewers, know she was drinking long before Britt got there. Her mom says she's done and Sam needs to get a job and start paying rent or find somewhere else to live, which is totally fair. So Sam has to meet again with her probation officer, who revealed that she recommended 60 days of jail time, which technically would have been like 2 weeks due to overcrowding and good behavior and stuff like that. But the judge overruled her anyway and just sentenced Sam to pretrial probation. Fast forward 3 days and Sam has remained sober, but she's really struggling with it. So she shows up to Olivia's house for support.
I want all the booze and all the sex and all the drugs all at the same time. You want to come in for a cup of tea? It's not blow, but it's all I have.
And they chat for a little bit, and then Sam remarks that she doesn't even have a job, and Olivia points her in the direction of a cashier position at a grocery store. Back at home, Carol tells Sam that she's proud of her for getting a job and starts to pour her a glass of wine, and Sam questions it like, "What are you doing?" And her mom's like, "Well, what? Can't you just have one glass of wine?" And Sam's like, "No, I can't. That's not how it works." Her mom asks if she can still drink, and Sam says yeah, but explains that she can't because apparently alcoholism is a disease. Her mom gets all touchy and starts asking, "Did you just say you have a disease?"
You don't have a disease. I know what a disease looks like. Leukemia, for one.
And she goes off on this whole thing. And Sam, for her part, is trying to defuse the situation, apologizing, saying that she wasn't trying to bring up her dad. But her mom keeps going and gets defensive and tells Sam not to judge her for having a glass of wine at night because it's hard to be a person. I really like this scene because it shows the disconnect between these two characters. Like, first of all, Carol doesn't understand Sam's addiction, not only drinking in front of her, but offering her a glass. And then when Sam tries to explain it to her even a little, she gets all dismissive and defensive. And not only is there misunderstanding, but there's clearly resentment coming from Carol, which, even though I relate to Sam, I understand. But that's part of Carol's character, is that she doesn't really deal with her own problems or acknowledge her own flaws. It's not until season 2 that she actually starts going to a support group for friends and family of alcoholics. So good for her. Following this tiff, Sam heads to an AA meeting, but she rushes outside trying to run away from the anxiety and the emotions that being there is making her feel. But after an exchange with James,
I could just keep doing exactly what I'm doing and one day write an autobiography of a trash bag featuring me.
That's a terrible idea. You shouldn't write that. That's a bad book.
she collects herself and she goes back inside. The next morning, 4 days sober, Sam is getting ready for work, and the pilot ends with her making her bed, following the advice that Olivia had given her earlier in the episode. By the end of the pilot, it's looking pretty good for Sam. She's going to meetings, she's got a sponsor, she has a job, but there's a lot more to it than that as the rest of the season explores. But I'm going to wrap it up here because I don't want to spoil anything, because I know you're totally definitely going to check out this show now. So I'm going to let you go do that. Once you watch it, make sure you come back and let me know what you thought of it in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. Please and thank you.
And I'll see you another time, and if I don't, that's totally fine too. But in the meantime, stay well and take care of you.